See, the thing is, I'm not very handy. So
I think owning a house will just make you handy.
yeah, it's kind of forcing us to do that. Anyway, so
Yep. Okay. So we're here. Jeff's not here today because he's ill, and I'm sorry I haven't been doing this for a couple of weeks. I've just been working. But we have Kumaran here today. It's episode 4, season 2. Kumaran runs a really impressive company here in Fredericton, in the news often, and I think maybe to start this off, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
sure, yeah. So my name is Kumaran. My
Sorry.
last name is Thillainadarajah. It's a little bit long, but it's easy if you break it up into 3. It's Thillainadarajah.
Okay.
If you try and take it all on once, then it's
I was honestly with Cody earlier. I was like, I might try to say his last name. We started to sound it out, and I just couldn't do it.
the worst is like when you go to an event and someone tries to pronounce your name and they do a really bad, and then I end up feeling bad for them because they feel really embarrassed. Because I know they probably practice and.
So you're not actually upset they said it wrong. You're upset
that my last name has
caused this.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, would that be the same issue if I was to go? And correct me, you're from India.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, apologize. Yeah. So if I was to go to Sri Lanka, would they have a hard time with like Philip Curley?
No.
Okay. No.
We get a lot of American TV, so.
Oh, cool. Right on. Yeah, totally. I had a really good friend growing up. Shout out to Coast from Sri Lanka, and he was just the nicest guy.
Okay.
So I assume you're the nicest guy too, so I assume it's just a culture?
I'm a nice guy, I don't know if I'm the nicest guy. Yeah, I try.
So can you tell me a little bit about your early life? How'd you get from Sri Lanka to here?
Well, I was actually born in Nigeria.
Okay.
My dad was teaching there.
Okay.
And after that, we went to England. So I was born in Nigeria, probably spent a few months there. And then soon after that, we went to England. Mm-hmm. We were in England for about 2 years. My dad did his master's degree there.
Okay, what was his?
Geological engineering.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So he went to university in England. After 2 years, we went to Trinidad.
Cool.
In the West Indies.
Yeah.
We lived there for about 7 years. So my dad was teaching at the University of West Indies there. He actually met the former dean of UNB.
Oh, no way.
Professor there. That's actually why, that's actually how I ended up at UNB. It's because they met there, and my dad kind of was impressed by UNB and.
That's cool.
So we lived in Trinidad for about 7 years, and then we moved to the Maldives, which is the nicest place on earth.
Where is this?
It's a small group of islands. It's like hundreds of islands off the coast of India. It's like south of India. It's like south of Sri Lanka and India. Really, really nice, beautiful, so beautiful. It's like kind of like Hawaii, Bahamas type.
Gotcha.
But really small islands.
That's cool.
And I actually had a really sweet gig when I was there. So I was in grade 5.
Okay.
And my best friend was from India, and his father ran the only private hospital in the capital.
Okay.
And he was like one of the best doctors. And so there are all these like really beautiful resorts in Maldives, and whenever they had sick guests, they would want him to come, and he would only go if his family could go. And his son would only go if I came. So I got to go to the most amazing resorts for free almost every weekend for about 2 years.
That's awesome.
It was perfect.
So you've seen the high life then.
Yeah. It was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you did that until you were 8?
No, so I was in grade 5.
8.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I guess I was. Yeah, and I lived there until I went to grade 7.
Okay.
Then I moved to Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Then we lived there for about 4 years.
Ooh.
Finished high school, and then I came to UNB.
Wow. Okay. So, a couple questions. So you've really lived in a lot of interesting places.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, a lot of tropical places.
And I like how you immediately told me your favorite one. Like, just in case you were curious, this is where I should go.
This is
100 Islands.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think Prince Williams went there for his honeymoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So these were nice resorts.
Yeah.
So Sri Lanka to UNB. How did that happen? And like that's massive.
Yeah. So because I was raised outside of Sri Lanka, I didn't speak the local languages, so there was no real opportunity for me to go to school in Sri Lanka. So we had to go somewhere else. And I've got two older sisters. They both went to university in England.
Okay.
My dad went to university in England, and we have a lot of family in England as well. So I decided I did not want to go to England. Wanted to go anywhere else. And so my dad said, "Okay, I know exactly the place." And because he met the dean in Trinidad, he was like, "I know a really great place." And UNB is actually known for geological engineering. It's actually one of the best universities in the world for that. So he had a really good impression of UNB, and so he thought I should come here. I looked at it. I looked at the brochures. Looked really great.
Yeah.
Didn't realize how cold it was. Like
gets cold. Yeah. They put that in the brochures.
They put people in sweaters on the brochure.
Oh, clever.
I could wear a sweater.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweater weather.
Yeah. Didn't realize that was like the summer.
Yeah, it's like that's this weather.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay, so that's interesting. And actually, just touch on that. UNB's like geologic. Oh, I called it like GPS. I went.
Yeah, geodesy. Yeah.
They made they did some cool things. They did like Google Street Views. Like the cameras came out of there, is my understanding.
Yeah, they had a big part to play in that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I know they mapped the moon landing, which is like their go-to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So in the 60s, they went to and be like, "Hey, we're going to land on the moon. Can you make sure we land safely?"
Oh, that moon. Okay.
Yeah, that one. Okay, cool. And so you're at UNB. Your father's an engineer. You got into engineering. What?
My dad did geography. I did computer engineering. Again, I wanted to do something.
Yeah, I can tell you're trying to be a little bit rebellious.
Well, so my dad was actually super focused. Like he went to school and kept taking courses up until like in his 40s.
Oh wow.
So I didn't want to compete with that. So I wanted to do something.
Right. So, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I did computer engineering at UNB. And it's actually at UNB where sort of SmartSkin happened, and it's kind of a little bit of an accident. But
what is SmartSkin? I know what it is, but tell me like I don't.
Okay, sure. So SmartSkin is a sensor technology company. It's an IT company, but there's sort of a hardware sensor component to it. So basically, it's a pressure sensor. That's fundamentally what it is. It's like a small piece. What it used to be a small piece of rubber that could be used as a sensor.
Right.
And so you can imagine there's endless possibilities for that type of thing. You could use it for anything.
So just like a sensor, I push down, it tells me how hard I'm pushing?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. It's like a mat, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
And so I was in computer engineering, but I was working for Dr. Philippe Chavanti. He was the chair for nanotechnology at the University of New Brunswick.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know we had nanotechnology at UNB.
Yeah. So it was actually a new thing. So there was a big deal when he came to UNB. Mm-hmm. There was like newspaper articles about it. I read about it. So when I heard that, I made sure to take the course that he was doing. So he was doing like an introduction to nanotechnology course.
Right.
So I took that. Was really interested. Then as soon as the course was done, I kind of pressured him to give me a job. I was like, really cool, what you're doing, you got to give me a job.
Right.
And he was just setting up his lab, and he didn't really have a job to give, but he's like, all right, sure, you don't leave me alone.
If you're going to show up, you might as well work.
Yeah, exactly. So he gave me a job. We started setting up his lab, and that summer we were messing around with polymers, like with making at the time the original project they put me on was to make a prosthetic skin or a skin covering for amputees for prosthetic limbs.
Okay.
That were mechanically stronger than what was out there already, and so you could add nanomaterials to rubbers to strengthen them.
Okay.
But you could also use nanomaterials to like give them electrical properties to make them conductive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was more interested in. And the nice thing about Dr. Chavanti was that he was very, pretty liberal. He gave us a lot of leeway, so he didn't mind that I was messing around. And, by the end of the summer, we ended up with this material that could be used as a sensor.
Cool.
The prosthetic project didn't go very far, but we did have this material that could be used as a sensor, and we thought that was really cool. And it was happenstance that when I went back to UNB I was taking TME courses.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to TME for doing a good job.
Exactly. wouldn't be where I am.
That's why I came.
Yeah. So doing KME courses, and they were first day of school. They were asking students. They were putting students into groups, asking them to write business plans about some existing companies. Atlantic Hydrogen was one. There's a few others. And normally I'm not very. I usually just sit in the back and follow the crowd, but I was really interested in the stuff that we're doing at the lab, and so I asked the prof if it would be okay if I could write a business plan about an idea I had for the sensor material, and he said yes. If he said no, I don't know what would have happened.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It was actually Mike Oliver.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I see him at the gym sometimes.
Yeah. So so he said, yeah, sure, go ahead, write a business plan. I had to make a group. I remember that was the first time I think I ever pitched SmartSkin in public.
Oh,
so
cool.
I was in front of the class, and because you had to make a group, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I pitched what I said. Basically, I have this material. It could be used as a sensor. I think there's endless possibilities for it. And this was like a class, like mostly of MBA students and business students, and they were like, I'm going to go with the established companies.
Yeah.
So I ended up with the people who didn't fit in anywhere else.
Which are the people you want.
Yeah. And we ended up writing business plans initially because my background was in prosthetics, so that's the project I was involved in. I was thinking about using the materials as sensors for prosthetics to make a skin that could be used to give amputees back a sense of touch.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You're the second person that's running a business that was working on the prosthetic hands. We've had on the podcast.
Oh, really?
We had Adam Clausen with Red Rover.
Of course, yeah.
It's just interesting that by doing that at UMB, it brought people. Anyway, it's kind of a tangent, but yeah. Totally.
So started writing business plans, and I think so there was also business plan competitions happening. And so I thought it'd be fun to enter that.
Like the nickel and stuff. Yeah, those were good.
So entered the UNB only competition. We won that, which is really fun.
Yeah.
So I'm also a very competitive person.
I could tell.
So once I got a taste of winning or doing that, I got hooked.
Yeah.
And it was also really neat because there was a cash prize, there was some money. So we took the money and then we started making prototypes. So the first couple of competitions we won on the concept of SmartSkin. Hey, we have this potential sensor. We can do all these things. It's going to be so amazing. And that's basically what we did. But then once we got some money, we started to build some prototypes. This was just me and my friends. We built these really crude prototypes. And we started entering engineering competitions. And that was nice because it sort of validated the technology to an extent that these guys are actually capable of doing
which is a huge thing in novel technology.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know.
Yeah.
So we started doing both engineering and business plan competitions. We did the UNB competition, an Atlantic competition, then we did the Atlantic engineering competition, the Canadian National Engineering competition. We started winning awards.
Yeah.
Started building all this momentum, and fortunately, again, it was the year of the MBI breakthrough competition. So, my prof said, it only makes sense for you to try and enter this as well.
Absolutely.
And so we did it, and that was a huge deal because now we're competing not just against students, but against professionals, real businesses.
Well, it's a huge amount of money. It draws out solid competition.
Yeah, and I remember when we were doing it, weeks before the final competition, I remember people on my team, they pulled me aside and said, look, I don't want my name on this because I don't want to be associated with any debt. I'm going to go get a job after this. I don't.
Oh my
so
God.
They thought the investment was going to handcuff them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or something.
Yeah.
So they said, yeah, just make sure my name's off whatever you're doing.
Right.
I thought that's kind of funny.
In retrospect, thanks.
So then we entered the MBF breakthrough competition. I remember when I was thrilled to make it to the final 7, and weeks before we did the final competition. This is a funny story. So up until that point, we were a prosthetics company. We
Okay.
were marketing ourselves as a sensor technology company that's going to give amputees back a sense of touch. And we were playing up our association with the UNB IBME. But the IBME gets their funding from ACOA. And ACOA, when they give the IBME their funding, they also tell them how they're supposed to spend it. So they're supposed to use this company or this place for sensors, this place for, so and so. And their sensor partner wasn't happy that we were running around telling people that we were going to make sensors for the IBME. So they called ACOA. ACOA called the IBME and told them, what the hell is SmartSkin? Shut that down, because this money is only to go for this other company. And so a couple of weeks before I went to the MBF Breakthrough competition, the IBM invited me to come over and pitch SmartSkin to them. And I thought it was a great opportunity for practice. Went in there, pitched it, and then as soon as it was done, there was no questions, or there was very few questions. And then they kind of basically just told me, so we'd really like it if you just didn't mention our names anymore.
Oh, no.
And this was like weeks before
Right.
Breakthrough. So that made us, that was probably the first big pivot we had to make. Now we couldn't be a prosthetics first company. We had to be.
How many weeks before this big competition?
Probably 2 or 3 weeks before.
Wow.
And so we had to completely change the whole presentation. And so now it was, we could do prosthetics, but we could also do other things. And
Like,
so we
looks like you're less
about-
focused.
But,
Just
maybe that helped us in doing well at Breakthrough as well, because we sort of demonstrated that we could also do gaming, we could do
Gotcha.
all these other applications as well. And it was more than just prosthetics. And maybe I was also hyper-focused on that, because that's been the winning formula up until then, but kind of forced us to change.
Gotcha.
And we also got really great feedback going through all those competitions. Like we kept iterating and changing, but that was a big change for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like touch on that. Sometimes life does that to you. You just got to deal with it. It happens
Yeah.
all the time in business. It's like akin to like your dog getting hit by your car. You're like, jeez.
Yeah. So then I think a week after that, we did a practice competition or practice pitch to some profs at UNB who agreed to do it, and they politely told us that the presentation was and we should change everything about it. It was actually like
Were these the TME guys?
yeah.
Yeah. Sounds standard.
So that was also tough, because that was like literally a week before
Oh wow.
the breakthrough competition.
But good for you though for like.
Well, we had a really great team, and I remember there was a lot of late nights changing the presentation. We made like really crude videos in the lab, and we completely overhauled the presentation. And when we did Breakthrough, it was unbelievable. 'Cause I remember we didn't have a final presentation until 2 a.m, and we were pitching the next morning.
Wow.
And so I don't even know what I was presenting exactly. We were still making slides. We were like, we completely overhauled it in the last couple of days. So that was fun. So that again, probably that was also good practice for my future career.
How does it feel looking back on it? Like,
it's fun. I don't really think about that.
we should let everyone know you did win, right? Like that's the
Story, yeah.
It wasn't like you just did
It's
it.
not just a series of misfortunate events. There's eventually a happy ending. So.
Cool.
So went to Breakthrough. We ended up doing really well there. So there was like 4 streams, and we ended up winning 3 of them.
Awesome.
One, best presentation, which is I remember. I think some of my profs were there, and when they heard that we won that, I think they were equally surprised as we were.
That's awesome though.
Yeah. We won best presentation, viewers' choice. We got a chance to go to Dragon's Den.
Right.
And most importantly, we won the student venture, so best student
Cool.
company or entry.
Right.
And that came with a $50,000 investment.
Nice.
And
Good start. Yeah.
that was another significant turning point. So that gave us the opportunity to say, well, is this just a school thing? Is this just a fun little thing we did, a school project, or
You gotta think like,
yeah.
because 50 grand's not enough to pay anyone.
Yeah.
but it's enough to get started. So are you serious? Like, do we need more money? Like,
Yeah.
so many questions.
And at the time, I thought $50,000 was, so much money.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know that feeling.
And so funny to think about that stuff. So we got the $50,000 investment, and I remember we met with Jerry Pond shortly after that. It's funny because when I met with Jerry, I met him before the breakthrough competition, and I was at some event, and they put us on this panel together. He agreed to talk to me afterwards, and I don't know why, because I was just a student entering the breakthrough competition. I think at the time I was maybe a finalist, and I was just complaining to him, like, I have all these problems, there's all these things that are wrong, and he just listened to me, gave me some great advice. After we won the breakthrough competition, I had lunch with him, and he offered me a small loan, like a $10,000 loan.
Wow.
And I actually declined that. I said, no, I don't want to take your money. That's your money.
Yeah, seriously.
I'll just wait for my investment to come in. And he was like, no, don't waste time. You need to get going now. And I would have actually declined that if not for the good folks over at Inversa. I don't know if you know the guys at Inversa. It's
great guys.
John.
Yeah. I'd love to have Jake on sometime. I don't really know John as well.
Okay, so I know them both. They're both great guys. And I actually, when SmartSkin was getting started in that time, I probably spent more time in their office than my own. I was just always over there because they had a very similar story as well.
Right.
They were UNB spinoff engineering company. They have a physical product. They won MBIF, and they've gone through a similar process.
And let me, you don't have to tell me if you don't know, but does UMB have some interest in SmartSkin as a result?
No.
Okay,
no.
Okay, that's just a question. Yeah.
So I met with Jake and I told them about the lunch with Jerry.
Right.
And they said, they politely told me I was an idiot. You should go back and
I don't believe they politely told you anything.
So they, so I went back. They said you should go back and get Jerry's money. He's an investor. This is what he does. He knows what he's doing. So you should go back and take his money. So then I politely went back to Jerry and told him, if that offer is still there, then I will take you up on it. And it was enough for us to get started. So we were able to rent really cheap lab space at the university. I think the first office I had, we were paying about $200 a month in rent, and it had cable. It had, it was right next to a lab, so it was perfect. And that's sort of how SmartSkin
got started.
Yeah.
Cool. On a loan. That's interesting too, because if it's a loan, he expects it to be paid back.
Yeah.
Which means he thought it was going to be successful from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully.
You know what I mean? So breakthrough. Jerry gave you $10,000. You got $50,000.
Yeah.
What are we in? 2013?
No, this is 2011 or 2010.
Okay,
sorry.
2010. So wow, we're 2017.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Jeez. Okay, what happens?
So when we won the $50,000 investment, I actually thought accepting it was the start of like a 1 or 2 year experiment. So I thought I was seriously considering going back to university, forgetting about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, this is a pretty unique opportunity. Let's see where this goes. If it doesn't work out, then in 12 months I'll just.
I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I learned so much better. This is my life now. This is what I do.
And it's funny because like my mom for the first 4 years of SmartSkin always thought that what I was doing was like code for unemployed. Like she just thought entrepreneur meant unemployed. And she told people that I was like still in school.
Oh my god, that's funny.
And they were probably thinking, man, the Kumaran's really having a hard time.
And you're having like articles about you.
Yeah.
People are bragging. Your mom's like not really bringing it up.
The only question my mom asks is like, did you eat? Did you have lunch? Did you eat dinner? Like, are you okay?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So early SmartSkin. I'll tell you what I knew, because everybody knows a little bit. I knew that you guys were winning awards, and every time you'd win an award, you'd use that money and get a little further in the business, so you could win another award.
Yeah, that's.
And then I know that like after NBAF, you guys had like a larger round of financing that was announced. But I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's the whole story. I don't think it was like smooth. Am I correct in saying that?
No, the first 3 or 4 years of SmartSkin was angel financing. So it was smaller investments every 12 months or every 18 months, something like that.
Right.
In total, we've probably raised over $7 million over the.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you should quantify that with telling people what you've accomplished. Like people go, $7 million, but you're doing some pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know how best to like. I think SmartSkin. It certainly changed a lot over the time. Like when we started the company, we were still figuring out what we were going to be. We didn't know what we were going to be, and in hindsight, that's a really risky way of doing it. It's the wrong way of doing it. Like you're supposed to find the market problem and then go find a solution. We had this technology and it was really compelling, but we had no idea what it was good for, right? And I was really fortunate that I had investors who were patient, who gave me the leeway to explore and to find out what SmartSkin really was. Yeah, that's a pretty, I think, a pretty unique opportunity that I was afforded.
Well, to touch on that too, like some people say, do you invest in the company or do you invest in the person? I think that they must have seen you and said, all right, this person, if we give him the ability to get started, he's going to be a successful business person for 30 years, 40 years, till you drop dead making deals.
I believe it was the technology. The technology is very compelling.
I don't. There's lots of good people in technology out there. That's me giving you a little bit of credit.
But anyway, so it took us a while to figure out what SmartSkin is going to be. And for the first few years, we didn't know. And that's sort of how we were presenting it as well. And it was a blessing and a curse because we had all these things that we could do, and every time we went, or when we went to early investors and we pitched ideas, we said, okay, we're going to do prosthetics, or we're going to do gaming, or we're going to do mobile phones, or we're going to do golf. They would say, yeah, that's a really neat idea. Have you thought about military, or have you thought about space?
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, space is a big industry. I'm sure that's something that we could do there. But we sort of had to get started, and luckily I had good mentors like Jerry. Jerry was also the mindset, do something now. Don't. And about finding the market as well. Like it's not about really finding the right market or the perfect market. It's about finding something that's good enough. Like who knows? Maybe packaging isn't the right market for us. Maybe there's something even bigger that we haven't thought about.
Can you talk a little bit about the packaging stuff that you're doing, or like I don't want to say anything because I know it's very like. It's manufacturing, so it's very. Yeah. So how is it made?
We started with prosthetics. We quickly switched to mobile.
Right.
This was like just before the iPhone came out, and
really.
So that was the biggest thing out there. So we thought, hey, you know what? We could apply this technology for mobile phones. It's the biggest market.
So you're like calling BlackBerry.
We were calling BlackBerry. We met with Nokia. We met with Palm. We met with Microsoft. We met with Samsung. We were Sony. We were chasing all those. I went to the Mobile World Conference in Barcelona in 2011.
That's crazy.
And we were making progress. We had the NDA signed with a bunch of these companies. That was really cool. That was a really great experience because here we are. We're pitching this technology that we developed in Fredericton, New Brunswick, at Samsung R&D Labs, right, to Microsoft, and they were impressed by it. And that's an amazing feeling, like to have.
I think we have great engineering here in New Brunswick.
Oh,
I'm very impressed with the products that come out.
Yeah. And so that was a great experience. But again, luckily I had good mentors, and they helped me understand the difference between enthusiasts and customers. And so these people that we were meeting with at Microsoft and Samsung, they were doing their job. They were keeping track of technology out in the world. That was their job, and we were that.
Right.
They weren't going to pay us to do it. They wanted us to, make these improvements. They wanted to make it slimmer, to, get it ready to be put into a form. They didn't want to actually pay for it.
Right.
And so our investors or mentors, helped me or coached me to say, I don't think this is the right market. You should started looking at some other opportunities.
And was that hard to like step back from people that are basically picking up the phone like you're trying to make sales?
Yeah, it was really difficult because it's always difficult stepping away from something you feel comfortable with,
right,
and doing something new. Because up until now, at the time, SmartSkin was a mobile phone company,
right,
and now you're saying, okay, walk away from that and do something completely different, sort of like starting over from scratch.
Like, and you got the sunk cost. You're like, well, what do you mean? I know everything about phones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So at the time, we were people also continuously came up to me and pitched ideas to me. They're like, hey, have you ever thought about SmartSkin for XYZ? And I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. We could potentially do that. And someone came up to me and pitched the idea of golf.
I was hoping you'd tell the story. It's a good one.
Have you ever thought about golf?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I've never actually played. I played golf maybe 2 days in my life.
Still today?
Yeah.
Oh, we go golfing sometime. I'm not very good, but it's fun.
Okay. So the idea for golf was to measure the grip pressure in golf. So grip pressure is apparently the most important part, or one of the most important parts of your game, and it's completely ignored because no one can measure it.
Right.
So no one really spends any time focusing on it. They focus on all these other metrics. So there's a lot of technology out there that's basically putting an accelerometer on your golf club and measuring your swing, right? And that's how they sell you equipment. And that's the part of the game that actually makes money. There's not much money in golf unless you're selling equipment.
Really?
Interesting. That's the part that makes money.
Not even like the resorts and stuff?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe that's equipment. Maybe we consider that like I need the resort to play.
Yeah. So, that was an interesting experience because someone told us that golf was a good market for us. Our mentors again helped us validate that. They arranged for us to go meet some really good coaches in Florida, and we presented them a very crude prototype. Right? We basically took the technology, wrapped it. It looked like the Ghostbuster gun.
Yeah, it was so funny.
It was really scary looking. Yeah. Flying with that thing was not a good idea.
Going through customs.
Yeah, nothing.
Don't worry about it.
I have a very bad handicap. So we took it down there. The first prototype we actually took to Florida. I remember the first swing someone took with it. All the cables came off.
Oh no!
Like first hit, all the cables came off, and we just sort of like laughed it off and said, "Oh, ha, that's easy to fix." But we tested the concept. Like they saw, okay, these guys are actually going to build this and it's going to measure grip pressure. This is what it's going to do. And so we interviewed 5 different coaches and asked them, like, do you think this is really important? Like, is it important for regular players, for professionals? Why is it? Why does it matter? And we sort of realized that it was really important, but because they had no way of measuring it, they weren't really paying much attention to it. There were expressions like hold your golf club like a bird or like a tube of toothpaste, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
So we were able to actually quantify that. And what we wanted to do was to build the first grip fitting system.
Yeah, it makes sense, like even talk about it.
So we were going to build a way for the guys that make golf grips to get into the fitting business, to sell you better grips.
Yeah.
Because
another product. Yeah.
Right. Because people spend hours buying equipment, and then they spend 10 seconds on the actual grip. They're like, okay, my hand's this big, and I like red, so I'll take that one.
Yeah.
But that's got nothing to do with how you should buy grips. And the grip companies know this as well. It's all about your swing.
Right.
They need to be part of the fitting business.
Right.
So we wanted to build a product for that. And so that was SmartSkin's focus for about a year. And we actually had 2 customers that were going to pay us to develop products for golf.
So why the switch? Like what happened?
Because at the same time, we were messing around with packaging.
Okay.
And so someone else came over to us and said, hey, have you thought about packaging? It's a really important or really large market, and pressure is really important there. If you could ever measure the pressure on these packaging lines, you could help these customers save a lot of money. And so we thought, well, we're basically just taking the same technology off a golf club and then putting it onto a bottle.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, okay, I think we could do that. So in behind the scenes, we were working on this. Right? And again, luckily, we had investors who gave us the leeway to do this.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously,
usually
they're basically funded R&D.
Yeah, you're supposed to focus on one thing and do it well.
Right.
Well, we were doing this. So in public, we were talking about golf, and this was the focus of the company. But in the background, we were working on this other thing, and we thought it had some neat potential.
Right.
And around the same time that we got the first deal signed in golf, we sold our first system in
Oh, neat.
and we quickly realized that there's a lot more money to be made in packaging than there is in golf.
Absolutely, like 100%.
And that's sort of how we got into
I don't know if you've seen McCain's today. Like I was just looking at their announcements, it's like $100 million expansion.
Yeah.
It's like what?
So what we're doing in packaging, back to your original question, is we're making these sensors that have the same form factor of the customer's container. So we basically build a duplicate of their container, whether it's a can or a glass bottle.
Okay.
We match the exact form factor, and then we cover it with sensors.
Right.
So pressure sensors, and it can also measure impact and shock as it travels down the line. And it tells the plant exactly where in the process they're damaging their containers.
Interesting.
And our customers have had a lot of success.
Nice. Well, that's good, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's the metric, right?
Right.
Like
yeah.
if they're happy,
exactly.
that's it.
Yeah.
Job done.
So that's been the focus of Smartskin. And what's interesting, I should say, is that packaging is such a large market. We will probably be busy in packaging for the next 5 to 10 years. Like I always hope that Smartskin would be bigger than one market. I think it can be.
I think it will be.
I hope.
Told you, man. They invested in you for that 30-year.
But I think that there's enough here to keep us busy for a while, and it's a good thing. There's so much in packaging. There's so much value that we can add. It's just crazy because right now the standard in the industry is for experienced plant managers or plant operators to listen to the sounds that the glass is making as it travels through the packaging line, the clinking it's making, and that's how they diagnose it.
What a silly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you get what you got, yeah.
Well, yeah. So now we're giving them data. We're giving them hard data that tells them exactly where.
Right.
And then you can do a before and after analysis and see that, this is what the pressure was like before you made these changes, and this is what it's like after. And there's a huge reduction in their breakage and damage and scratch.
Right.
So these are all hard data that they can use to build a case, or we could use to build a case for using our system.
That's awesome. Let me ask you a question. So you had a bunch of pivots, and that's pretty common in a lot of businesses. Do you think that you would have been able to execute on the manufacturing opportunity if you hadn't have done all the past stuff?
Yeah, because the technology, the company and myself, we all grew with each of those things. Like we made the technology better each time.
Right.
Each prototype we built helped us, miniaturize it, make it small, and make it better. Like if we hadn't done golf, we definitely couldn't
that's
have
how I
done
feel too.
packaging as well. Like if we had gone straight from mobile to packaging,
right,
we said there's no way we could take this technology and apply it here, or it wouldn't have been as intuitive.
Gotcha.
And we learned a lot along all the process. Like in golf, we kind of did we took the right approach. We found a problem, and we tried to design a solution for it, right? And we sort of took that approach into packaging as well. And I think part of the reason that we have been successful recently is that we're spending a lot of time with customers. Like we've been in this market for a while. There have been ups and downs as well in packaging. I think the reason why we're doing better now is that we're spending a lot more time focused on the customer. We aren't focused on sales, but we're focused on customer success.
Right.
So we're focused on helping them achieve better results, like understanding really why they're breaking bottles, and then designing new sensors, new solutions. Like this year in 2017, I'd say about 60 to 70% of our sales have been new products, new technology that we didn't sell last year.
Yeah.
So,
I totally get that. Preaching to the choir. Like in Hanspot, it's like corporate accounts, looking at corporate accounts for buses and stuff like that. Just a lot of stuff. I get it, right? Your customers come back and say, "I really need this."
Yeah, and, sometimes you hear people say, "Well, no, now you make a product, just sell that product. Go find who will buy it. Shut down your R&D.
Right.
Go sell the product.
Right.
And what we learned is that every customer is different.
Mm-hmm.
And not every plant has the same problem. They've got different problems.
Right.
And so you can't sell the same solution everywhere.
And you have such a big customer too that they're just going to have inherently, different lines. Things are going to be. I get that.
Yeah, and if for like we don't like to disclose customer names, but if,
no worries.
Hypothetically, if Coca-Cola came to you and said, "Can you do this plus this?" You're going to say yes.
Of course, you're going to say yes because
Yeah.
it's like, we'll do whatever you want, Coca-Cola.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
No, that makes total sense. Okay, how are we doing on this? Okay, cool.
oh yeah, I forgot that we were doing this.
There's one. Yeah, that's how you know it's going well. There's one thing I do want to touch on because I think that you told me, and if you feel comfortable, but we had lunch the other day, and you told me a story about how you are like dealing with. Like you had to go to Montreal and stuff to get your passports and
Yeah.
Could you talk to me a little bit about that just so people know that so there's two things. First off, congratulations, right? Like your story sounds super organic, but it's something you made happen, right? Like you went from friggin' phoning all the phone companies, engineer out of New Brunswick, to friggin' phoning all the golf people, to doing the package and stuff. And that sounds organic when you hear it in hindsight, but that's pretty impressive. But I want people to understand that at the same time, because you're from Sri Lanka, you're dealing with some bullshit.
So, that's like the other half of my life. So, especially because I didn't finish my engineering degree, it became very tricky, or it made it more complicated for me to stay in Canada and start my company.
Right.
A lot of the programs for getting people to stay in New Brunswick to become permanent residents or to become residents is focused around graduates, people who have jobs, that sort of thing. Not people who want to stay here and start a company. There wasn't a startup visa when I started SmartSkin.
Right.
So what I had to do was, luckily, I finished my TME diploma. I finished the course that I needed to do.
That's
TME.
all I did too.
Yeah. So
I followed in your footsteps, I guess.
So I did the TME diploma, and with the TME diploma, I was able to apply for a graduate work permit, which meant I could stay in Canada for 3 years.
Okay.
So the first 3 years of SmartSkin, I was on a work permit, and then when those 3 years finished, I realized that you have to do a 1 year employment with your employer, or you do a 1 year permit with your employer. Sorry.
And you're working for yourself.
Yeah. So I had to do a labor market survey opinion saying that, in my opinion, so I had to basically write a letter to the government saying that, in my opinion, I believe I'm the most qualified person to do my job. Find me, send it to the government, and then they send me back a work.
What does the person reading that letter? It's just like, I think you're probably right.
If you think so.
Solid reference.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to do that, and that became a bit tedious, and then eventually I could qualify for permanent residence. That's basically what I'm on now, and that's what the startup visa does. So it accelerates you to getting permanent residency, but even that is not good enough if you're from a developing country.
Yeah, totally. And what is the difference between permanent residency and like being a citizen?
I can't vote, and I can't vote, and I don't get a passport.
That's silly.
So the passport is key.
Yeah.
So so because I don't have a Canadian passport, I have a Sri Lankan passport, I have to get a visa for everywhere I want to go. So I have a visa for the U.S. And luckily for the U.S. I've got a long-term visa, so that's fine. It's like I have a 10-year visa now.
Nice.
For Europe, I have to get a 1-year visa for Europe. And I think when I talked to you, I was going to Japan.
Yeah.
And so to go to Japan, I have to go to Montreal, apply for a visa in person, and then that takes a week. And
do you have to stay in Montreal for the week?
You could come back as well, but I needed to go soon, so I stuck around for a couple of days and kind of
amazing
asked them to get me sooner. But to apply for the visa for Japan, you have to have references from all the people you're going to meet in Japan. They're very thorough as well. So you had to have a letter from every company that you're going to go see in Japan, and you had to have a local person guarantee you.
Wow.
Which is Like,
And
so
these are
luckily-
customers you're trying to meet.
So luckily we have a partner in Japan who was able to do this for us. But otherwise, if I wanted to go to Japan and sell to, let's say, Pepsi or Coke in Japan, I would have to get someone at Coca-Cola company in Japan to vouch for me, to write a letter of guarantee
Oh my
for this person who's going to come over. Like,
And I just couldn't even imagine like having a sales call and be like, "I'd like to come see you. Would you give me a letter of guarantee?" He doesn't know you.
I'm trying to sell him something like, okay, fine.
Literally
You
sounds
come
like a
see us,
scam.
fine, yeah. Oh, and then by the way, could you also guarantee me while I'm there? I promise I won't break something.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm a huge believer in high impact people. I really do think that like different people just have a bigger impact. Like it's kind of like how some people have more friends. Like there's people out there that just know everybody. But I think there's people out there that just do a lot. And when somebody like yourself comes over and starts, raising money, putting people to work, building world-class companies, yeah, we should streamline that. And I get that it's it's a small minority, but it's the minority that you want to care about.
Yeah. So I have some. Okay. So New Brunswick, I feel like can do a lot more for retaining.
No, tell them they're watching. Like, just tell them what they think.
Retaining skilled people. Like, for example, we have about, I think, 5 people at SmartSkin who have gone on to become permanent residents and are still, with the company.
It's amazing. You're solving the immigration problem.
And when we hired these people, we didn't really think about what their status was.
Right.
I kind of know because of my own experience, but we didn't really factor that in. We just sort of hired the best people that we could find. But there are also these like local funding programs. So there are programs to help you hire people, but those programs only apply to permanent residents. And so none of those employees could count towards that, so we couldn't use any funding towards them. And it kind of makes it harder to hire these people and to keep
Absolutely.
those people. And I wish the province would do something about that, because the province says it wants to retain more skilled workers. That's a great way to do that.
Well, I know that it's a huge focus of ACOA now. So I'm going to give you a connection with ACOA, but let's just say it out here so that if anyone's watching, they can understand. But can you say the solution, then I'll connect you with the person?
Sure.
Yeah.
So there are these programs that will basically subsidize a new hire's wages for about a year, let's say.
Right.
But those only apply for Canadians or permanent residents.
Right.
And to become a permanent resident, you have to work for 3 years. You have to work for a certain number of years. So the only way that they can become permanent resident is to get that initial work experience.
Right.
But it makes it harder for local companies to do it because they can't use these programs. So if New Brunswick really does want to get more people to stay in the province, to set down roots, open the program up, allow us to hire anyone, right?
Yeah, and that's coming from a guy who's done this with 5 people. Like, you're not saying this from like, I wish this would happen. Like, actually, this would help me hire more.
Yeah, and if you hire these people, they set down roots in part and they get a job here. They
Convince their family to come here. Yeah, totally.
Some of those people are getting married or have married people here and are
Well, you just bought a house. Like, you,
Exactly,
this is your life now.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, I certainly hope the province would do more to.
Honestly, though, it's literally just talking about stuff like this, and like, because 90% of the time they just don't know. Like, it would be my kind of.
I've complained I made some noise, and I don't like to make a big deal about it because I'm obviously not from here, so I don't want to. I'm
you like, I get it, but please do, because we're ignorant. We don't listen. I'm from PEI and say that, but like, Jesus, like we're not paying enough attention. We don't, But let's do that. Let's have that be the takeaway. Let's get a letter together. I know the right person to send it to, and we'll do it.
Okay.
Cool, man. All right, that's it. Have a good night.
Oh,
that's it, man. I gotta go cook. We got a potluck.
Oh yeah, you got a potluck today.
Yeah, man. Plus, we're like near at an hour.